Ethan Cole had always believed in the power of progress. From a young age, he was drawn to machines, to towering structures of steel and concrete, to the endless skyline reshaping itself every day. Construction wasn't just a job. It was a dream built from dirt, sweat, and blueprints. But on a sweltering August morning in downtown Chicago, that dream turned into a haunting, irreversible tragedy. This is a story of what happened that day, of ambition, oversight, and the devastating price of pushing limits. Stay with us, because what you're about to witness is not just heartbreaking. It's a wake-up call. And if you haven't yet, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps more than you know, and someone out there needs to hear this. Ethan Cole wasn't just a foreman. He was the kind of guy everyone looked up to, sharp, experienced, and deeply respected in a field where respect has to be earned with every beam laid and every floor raised. At 38, he had worked on some of the tallest structures in the country. His specialty? High-rise crane coordination, a job that combined physics, communication, and nerves of steel. But Ethan wasn't doing it for the fame. He did it because he loved building things. He loved seeing a skyline change and knowing he was part of that legacy. And there was one machine he trusted more than any other, a 600-foot crane he'd operated for years, affectionately called Libra, a beast of machine. Tall, powerful, precise. To outsiders, Libra was just another tool. But to Ethan, it was a partner. He knew every creak, every hum of the engine, every sway of the tower in strong winds. He treated it like it was alive, a colleague once said, like he could feel him up there, like they were in sync. No one controlled Libra like Ethan did. Every day, Ethan would ascend into the cab hundreds of feet above the ground, trusting that the checks done below, the readings from his instruments, and his decades of experience would be enough to keep things safe. And usually they were, but beneath the calm of routine, something had been shifting. Small things. A delay in the rotation gear that no one reported. A minor tremor when lowering loads that engineers brushed off as harmless vibration. Unspoken concern from new hires, dismissed as nerves. But Ethan trusted the system. He trusted the protocols. After all, this wasn't his first job. What no one saw, what no one wanted to see, was a storm brewing inside the mechanics of Libra. And on August 14th, at precisely 10:26 a.m., that storm erupted. It was already a brutal morning. The heat index had passed 105 degrees, and the city shimmered in haze. Down below, workers moved like clockwork, assembling what would soon become the 72nd floor of a new corporate skyscraper. From his vantage point in the cab, Ethan radioed down, preparing for the final lift of the hour, a 3,000-pound steel frame. All clear for the swing, he confirmed. Let's bring it home. But the moment he shifted the lever, he felt it, a jolt, not the usual rhythmic push from the rotation gear. This was erratic, heavy. Pause the load. Ethan barked, but it was too late. A loud crack echoed through the site. Workers on the ground looked up in confusion. Then another, and suddenly, the boom of the crane veered to one side. Unnaturally. Inside the cab, Ethan's world turned sideways. The safety alarm screamed. He slammed emergency brakes. No response. Steel shrieked against steel as the upper section of Libra began to buckle. From the street below, it looked like slow motion, a surreal, almost cinematic sight. The mighty crane, once a symbol of progress, now folding on itself. Workers screamed. Some ran. Others froze. And in the middle of it all, Ethan Cole remained inside. He was shouting into his radio, his voice breaking. Systems not responding, gear collapse, trying to stabilize. And then silence. The entire upper rig of the crane snapped free, slamming into the building's skeletal framework. Glass shattered. Sparks flew. The cab plummeted. Ethan's last moments were spent trying to steer away from the workers below. The steel frame meant to crown the tower now lay twisted and smoking on the concrete. It took emergency crews nearly 40 minutes to reach the wreckage. And when they pulled Ethan's body from the crushed remains of the cab, the site fell silent. He was gone, the man who had spent his life reaching new heights, brought down by the very system he believed in. The coroner's report listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma, combined with catastrophic internal injuries. The media ran headlines for days. A hero lost, a site shut down, an investigation launched. But what the headlines didn't capture were the whispers among the workers, the doubts that had gone unspoken. Interviews with crew members revealed a chilling truth. They had noticed warning signs, loose bolts, slight drifts, misaligned gears. But the pressure to meet deadlines, the fear of rocking the boat, had kept them quiet. And now it was too late. A series of safety inspections revealed that maintenance logs had been forged. Parts that should have been replaced months ago were still in use. Corporate had cut corners. The machine Ethan trusted had become a silent killer. In the weeks that followed, the construction company issued apologies. Promises were made. Protocols were revised. But the truth remained. This wasn't an accident. It was a consequence of placing profit over people, of ignoring the warnings, of trusting that someone else would speak up. At the memorial, held on the 10th floor, the last one Ethan completed, friends and family gathered to honor the man who had built more than just buildings. He had built trust. He had built a community. And now, that community was left to ask, how many more lives have to be lost before things change? This isn't just Ethan's story. It's a story for every worker who's ever climbed, drilled, welded, or lifted under the weight of unrealistic expectations. It's for every voice that's gone unheard in the face of corporate silence. And it's for those still climbing. If you've been moved by Ethan's story, we ask you to share it. Let others know. Let it be a reminder. Safety isn't just a checkbox. It's a promise. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment below. Every interaction helps keep stories like Ethan's alive and helps prevent the next one from ever happening. Let Ethan Cole's legacy not be defined by how he died, but by how his story helps protect the lives of those who build the world around us. It was supposed to be another marvel of human engineering, a routine expedition that pushed boundaries while celebrating progress. But within minutes, wonder turned into horror. What began as a scientific deep-sea test became a catastrophe that would raise haunting questions about risk, oversight, and the price of ambition. This is a story of Dr. Nyla Hartley, a pioneering oceanographer whose final mission aboard an experimental submersible left an indelible mark on the world of exploration. Before we begin, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story so we can continue to bring you powerful, true stories that matter. Let's dive in. Nyla Hartley wasn't your typical researcher. From the time she could speak, she asked questions no one else around her thought to ask. While other children played in sandboxes, Nyla devoured books about shipwrecks and sonar. She could recite oceanic trench depth from memory by the age of 9. By 14, she was building rudimentary underwater robots with scavenged parts. She pursued her education relentlessly, graduating summa cum laude in marine robotics, followed by a doctorate in hydrothermal systems. But what truly set her apart wasn't just her intellect. It was her instinct. Colleagues often said Nyla didn't just study the ocean, she listened to it. She became the youngest mission lead ever appointed at the Ocean Tech Research Institute. Her name became known not only for her research, but for her ability to navigate some of the most challenging environments on the planet. She believed exploration wasn't just about data, it was about respect. We don't conquer the ocean, she often said, we negotiate with it. But behind the accolades and headlines, The world of deep-sea research carries unseen risks, sophisticated vessels, pressurized environments, human fallibility, and on that day, not even Lena could predict what would unfold. The Titanium-class submersible, nicknamed Echo 1, was Ocean Tech's most advanced prototype. Designed for ultra-deep descent, it featured a reinforced composite shell, robotic arms, and a revolutionary navigation AI. Lena had been part of its design team and would now lead its inaugural live mission. 3,000 meters below the surface, off the Mariana Trench. The goal was simple: survey a newly discovered geothermal vent. What no one expected was how quickly things would spiral out of control. February 22nd. The sun had just risen over the Pacific, casting gold across the ship's steel decks. On board, final systems checks were underway. Crew members moved with practiced calm, but Lena remained laser-focused, reviewing telemetry, calibrating sensors, scanning logs. She had done this dozens of times, but never this deep, never with this vessel. At 7:13 a.m., Echo 1 was lowered into the sea. As it descended, sunlight faded, replaced by darkness as absolute as space. Inside, Lena monitored her instruments, recording pressure, temperature, and sound levels. The descent was smooth. At 2,700 meters, she radioed topside. All readings nominal. Visuals clear. Echo 1 is holding steady. Her voice was calm, confident. By 7:58 a.m., the submersible reached target depth. Lights illuminated the ocean floor. Volcanic rock, sulfuric plumes, signs of microbial life. Lena activated the robotic arms, collecting samples. For the next 22 minutes, everything went according to plan. Until it didn't. A vibration. Then another, barely noticeable at first, like a murmur through the hull. Lena paused, rechecked her dashboard. No warnings. Still, her instincts flared. She radioed the surface again. Echo 1 is detecting localized tremors, requesting environmental analysis. Topside responded, minor tectonic activity, within expected range. But deep beneath the surface, the situation was changing faster than anyone realized. Inside the cockpit, a soft alarm began to pulse. Not red, not urgent, just a quiet orange, pressure fluctuation. Lena blinked, then the sub jolted. A burst of bubbles outside. Something wasn't right. She initiated ascent protocols, but the system didn't engage. Then the AI flickered. Hydraulic response delay, 2.4 seconds. 2 seconds too long. She tried again. Another jolt, louder this time. Something external had shifted, either a collapse nearby or a structural failure. Still, Lena didn't panic. She had trained for this. She manually triggered the ballast release. The sub began to rise, slow, controlled. But pressure was increasing, not decreasing. That's when the external camera feed went black, and the lights cut out. What happened in those next few minutes is still debated among experts. At 8:11 a.m., surface crew lost full contact with Echo 1. Final telemetry indicated an internal power redistribution and a rapid drop in buoyancy. No distress signal was sent, just silence. Rescue vessels were mobilized within the hour. Sonar was deployed. A perimeter sweep began. But with each passing minute, hope dwindled. At 9:06 a.m., a faint sonar ping was detected, not from Echo 1, but from its emergency beacon 900 meters east of the planned dive site. When the beacon was recovered, it told a chilling story. At 8:13 a.m., an implosion event had occurred. Instantaneous and catastrophic. The vessel had experienced a localized hull failure under pressure, collapsing in milliseconds. Lena Hartley never stood a chance. The ocean had gone silent again. The news broke slowly at first. A vague statement from Ocean Tech. We have lost contact with our lead researcher during a deep-sea mission. Rescue operations are underway. But behind the corporate language was a growing sense of dread. By the evening of February 22nd, it was official. Dr. Lena Hartley was presumed dead. Within 24 hours, headlines swept across major outlets. Brilliant mind lost to the deep Ocean Tech tragedy sparks safety probe. Innovator dies on maiden dive. Her photo, smiling in her pressure suit, standing next to Echo 1, was everywhere. People grieved. Scientists, students, even those who barely knew her name felt the loss. Because Lena represented something bigger. Hope, the belief that we could explore the unknown without losing ourselves to it. But as the morning spread, so did the questions. Why did a state-of-the-art sub fail? What warnings were ignored? Was this an accident or negligence? The investigation began immediately. An independent review board was assembled, including naval engineers, pressure vessel experts, and AI ethicists. Recovered components were analyzed. Acoustic data was dissected. Internal memos from Ocean Tech were subpoenaed. What emerged painted a more complicated picture. Echo 1 had passed every inspection. On paper, it was flawless. But some engineers had raised quiet concerns about its composite hull, strong, but still experimental under extreme conditions. One memo dated 3 months prior suggested postponing the first manned dive until further simulations could be completed. The memo had been overruled. Why? Time, funding, reputation. Ocean Tech was racing to secure a government contract. A successful dive would have put them ahead of global competitors. The pressure wasn't just from the ocean. It was from within. One engineer anonymously told investigators, there was this feeling that Lena could handle anything. She was a safety net. But even the best can't survive physics. Water wave. Lena's autopsy wasn't necessary. There were no remains to examine, just fragments. Yet her legacy sparked something bigger than grief. Protests emerged at tech conferences and academic symposiums. Students held vigils with signs that read, not just a statistic and curiosity shouldn't kill. Online petitions demanded reforms in private exploration missions. Hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag for Lena, hashtag reform deep tech, hashtag safety before speed. The tragedy became a flashpoint, not just about a failed dive, but about the ethics of exploration in an age where ambition often outpaces accountability. Her colleagues, devastated, founded the Hartley Protocol Initiative, a global task force focused on submersible safety, ethical testing frameworks, and mental wellness support for high-risk researchers. Lena's name became a standard in grant policies. Hartley compliance meant a mission met the highest bar of safety and oversight. 3 months after the incident, the remnants of Echo 1 were displayed at the Ocean Tech headquarters, not as a trophy, but as a warning. Bent steel, fractured composites, and a scorched control panel sat in a glass enclosure, silently telling a story of ambition, oversight, and irreversible consequence. A plaque beneath it reads, "In memory of Dr. Lena Hartley, may progress never outpace responsibility." But Lena's legacy wasn't confined to a museum. Her family, after receiving the final investigative report, declined to sue. Instead, they launched the Hartley Foundation for Ethical Exploration. Its mission was clear: support young scientists, advocate for transparency and high-risk research, and ensure that no discovery would ever come to blind expense of human life again. Grants began to flow. Safety standards shifted. Major research institutions rewrote protocols with her name at the top of each page. In classrooms, professors reference her final dive not as a failure, but as a lesson. "We go to the edge," one said, "but we don't jump blindly." Lena showed us that the edge has meaning only if we return from it. Colleagues recalled her calm under pressure, her humility, her relentless pursuit of not just knowledge, but understanding. One former coworker said, "She didn't just want to map the ocean floor. She wanted to understand what it meant to walk across it." Another added, "She believed in the mission, but she also believed in doing it right." We failed her on that second part. Her story, however tragic, did what data alone could never do. It humanized the cost of progress. It asked uncomfortable questions about ambition, about oversight, about the line between courage and recklessness. And in doing so, it brought reform, real reform. Lena Hartley's final moments were spent in silence, beneath a crushing weight few can comprehend. But what followed was louder than any headline. Waves of change, echoes of responsibility, and the realization that even in death, one voice can ripple through an entire field. So if this story moved you, if it made you pause, reflect, or rethink how we pursue progress, let it be more than a moment. Let it be a mission. Support ethical exploration. Share this story. Speak out for safety in science. Because behind every discovery, every innovation, and every launch into the unknown, there is a human, and every human matters. Thank you for watching. If this story meant something to you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with someone who believes that every life, every risk, and every lesson should never be forgotten.